First, Happy New Year. The meeting is now called to order. We want to make sure everyone has signed in. And if you don't have a copy of the agenda, there's some on the back table. If you haven't already done so, please put your cell phones on vibrate. I want to welcome everyone to this meeting. We look forward to a positive and productive meeting. And I hope that everyone came here tonight for business and not necessarily political theater, because we have a lot to accomplish and your participation is critical. At this time, I'd like to ask Secretary Bugs to call the roll.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Betty Wood.
Present.
Keisha Shropshire. Present. Adam Roberts.
Present.
Shirley Blacknell.
Present.
Kathy Henderson.
Present.
Clarence Lee.
Present.
And I'm in Fonda. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's see, we're going to have our elections first. First, is there a motion to approve the agenda? I know that my colleagues are very eager to always approve the agenda.
I'd like to second with 2 amendments.
What are your amendments?
So letter E, under administrative matters, to add adoption of the 2016 meeting schedule as requested by the Office of ANCs. That's the first amendment. The second amendment is to strike the ending time of the meeting until all matters on the agenda have been addressed.
I don't accept the second amendment.
No. I second.
I don't accept the amendment. So, discussion, Commissioner Lewis?
Since our normal meeting time is 8:30 p.m., even if it's extended, I will be leaving at 8:30 p.m. because I have prior commitments.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? The motion passes. Okay, let's see. I'd like to call David Meadows to the floor. And Mr. Meadows is an experienced individual, long-serving district resident, esteemed district resident, and I would like to ask you to grace us with the pleasure of conducting our elections.
Certainly.
The elections will be as follows. We'll begin with chairperson, followed by vice chairperson, followed by treasurer, followed by secretary, and we will move forward. Okay? Yes, Commissioner Lewis.
I would like to have it on the record that I will not be voting tonight due to no suitable candidates for any of the positions.
Thank you, Commissioner Lewis. At this time, I'd like to open the floor for nominations for chairperson.
Would you like me to conduct that?
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is David Meadows. I'm Chief of Staff to your at-large Councilmember Anita Bonds. Councilmember Bonds has oversight of the Office of Advisory Neighborhood Commissions. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So, here we go, pen. Excuse me. Do you have a listing of the officer positions?
You have your,
Thank you.
will be chairperson, vice
Vice chair.
chairperson, treasurer, secretary.
So I'd like to open the nominations from the commissioners for the office of chairperson. Commissioner.
I'd like to nominate myself as chairperson, Clarence Lee.
Mr. Clarence Lee, we have a nomination for Mr. Lee. Do we have a second? We have a nomination without a second. I'm calling again for a second for Mr. Lee.
I think Commissioner Bugs?
No,
I'm sorry, are you seconding that motion?
No, I was not seconding that motion.
Okay.
Okay, second is not required. Scott Lip-Simon is the Executive Director of the Office of Advisory Neighborhood Commission. So Mr. Clarence Lee is a nominee for the position of chairperson for the ANC. Do we have a nomination for the position of chairperson for ANC?
I'd like to nominate, Adam Roberts.
We have a nomination for Mr. Adam Roberts. We have a nomination. Do we have a second for Mr. Roberts?
Yes, I second.
And your name is Commissioner?
Commissioner Bernice Black now.
Ms. Black. We have a nomination for, do we have another nomination for the office of chairperson for this ANC? Do I have a motion to close nominations for the office of chairperson for this ANC?
I move to close the nomination for chairperson.
We have a motion to move, and do we have a second to close the nomination?
I second it.
The nominations are now closed for the office of chairperson. Moving on to vice chairperson. Do we have a nomination for vice chairperson of ANC5D? I will call again for a nomination for vice chairperson of ANC5D. Yes, Ms.
I'm Commissioner Strasser. I would like to nominate, Bernice Blacknell for vice chairperson.
We have a nomination for Ms. Blacknell for vice chair of ANC5D. Do we have a second?
I second.
Ms. Blacknell second. We have a nomination for vice chair. Do we have any more nominations for vice chair of ANC5D?
And Mr. Meadows,
Yes.
I neglected to share with you
Sure.
that each candidate has an opportunity
To speak.
to speak for 1 minute.
I want to ask the general practice, if the nominations are consecutive, if basically vote for one candidate, one office, and then move
No,
to the second.
each position. We're gonna vote for each position.
Okay. So let's then move forward then and go ahead and allow the candidates, Mr. Lee and Mr. Roberts, to go ahead and address the commission, and they will have 2 minutes to
1 minute.
1 minute to state their candidacy. Mr. Lee.
Okay, well, good evening. After being on this commission for 1 year, I just think that it's time to move forward in more of a positive direction and like to build some unity amongst the commissioners so we can work together. There's a lot of things that are going on in ANC5D that as a community we need to address, and I just want to bring that kind of leadership to the commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Roberts.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. I'd first just like to cite from DC Code the actual job description of the chairperson of ANCs. And I quote, "The chairperson shall serve as convener of the commission and shall chair the commission meetings." Period. That's it. So a couple of goals I'd like to outline. Goals, first of all, to members of the public who are here, to whom we are ultimately accountable. I want our meetings to be informative. I want them to be fun. I want them to be accessible. I want meeting agendas distributed at least 7 days in advance, so that when you come to the meeting, you know what to expect, you know what your commissioners are going to vote on, so that you can ultimately hold us accountable. To the commissioners for whom I'm asking your vote, concurring with Commissioner Lee, I would like to see us be working much more collaboratively together. Agendas will be constructed together, and everyone will have equal opportunity to be heard. Lastly, as Commissioner Lee also said, we know that 2015 was a challenging year. I very much look forward to moving past that and working in the interest of all of us here for 2016 as we have many other things coming. Thank you.
Thank you. And so I'll ask for a show of hands for those candidates that would like to select Mr. Lee as your chairperson.
Discussion first.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, good evening to everyone. I want you to know, as chairperson for this commission, it has been very challenging. And one of the reasons why it has been challenging, our first year as a new commission, while the commissioners didn't necessarily all agree on everything, we were very effective in working together to put forth an agenda that served the public. And we had a lot of accomplishments that I think really served you, like ANC5D Fall Fest. And that was an opportunity for all single member districts to be able to come together, meet and greet your neighbors, and clean each single member district. We had some participation in that effort, and certainly a lot of citizen participation, and thank you for those of you that did participate. Again, we did it this year, but this particular year, 2015, was very challenging because we had the addition of 4 new commissioners. 4 new commissioners that really didn't know the community, didn't really understand what the goals were to serve and what Robert's Rules of Order were. So they came, and we have Mr. Simon here, who I believe aided in that miscommunication. So I don't completely blame my colleagues.
Commissioner, you're on 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Meadows. But we didn't do what we needed to do. We didn't vote for minutes. I had to make reports to the Office of the Attorney General, the Office of the Inspector General, the Board of Ethics and Government Accountability, and the U.S. Attorney's Office, because 3 of my colleagues went to the TD Bank in Rockville to sign on to our account without permission. Those are the types of challenges that I would like to see us move beyond. And as a result of my efforts, I requested and had the DC auditor freeze the commission's account. So the good news is that none of your dollars were squandered or misappropriated. And I look forward to us going forward. I hope that after we sort out all the other back issues, that we can get back on track to serve this community effectively as we began in 2012. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. Discussion? Having no more discussion, I'd like a show of hands for those in favor of Mr. Lee as chairperson of 5D. We have 1 vote for Mr. Lee for chairperson of 5D. We have a show of hands for Mr. Roberts as chairperson.
I want to know opposed or abstaining.
Oh, yes, well, abstains come after the second vote. Do we have a vote for Mr. Roberts for chairperson of 5D? Let the record show we have 1, 2, 3, 4 votes for Mr. Roberts. Do we have any abstentions for the vote of chairperson for 5D? Madam Chair, with a vote of 4,
I'd like the record to reflect that I vote no for both candidates.
so you're abstaining or no?
No, not abstaining, I'm voting no.
Did you note the 1 abstention?
1 abstention.
Please proceed, thank you.
Thank you all. Congratulations, Mr. Roberts. Moving on to the office they all do this without pay, you know. It is a layman's work. It's many, many hours. We have Ms. Blacknell as a candidate for vice chair of ANC5D. Do we have any more candidates for vice chair of ANC5D? Seeing none, I call to close the nominations for vice chair of 5D. And so we will call for a vote of acclamation of Ms. Blacknell of 5D with a show of hands. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes for Ms. Blacknell. Abstentions? 1 abstention? A no?
I know.
And 1 no. Congratulations, Ms. Blacknell. I will call for nominations for the office of treasurer for ANC Commission 5D. Calling for the office of treasurer of ANC 5D.
I'll nominate myself, Commissioner Shropshire, for treasurer.
Okay. And we have a nomination of Commissioner Shropshire. Do we have any more nominations for office of treasurer? Are you seconding Ms.
Yes,
Shropshire?
yes, I
Thank you,
second.
Ms. Blacknell. we have any more nominations for office of treasurer of ANC5D? Seeing that there are no more nominations, I will close nominations and ask the commission to vote by acclamation Ms. Shropshire as the treasurer of 5D with a show of hands. We have 5 in favor. Do we have any abstentions? We have 1 abstention. Do we have any against? And 1 against. Congratulations, Ms. Shropshire. And I will open up nominations for the office of Secretary of the Commission 5D. Do we have any nominations for Secretary of Commission 5D? Yes,
I'd like to nominate Secretary Bugs.
sorry, the last name again?
Bugs.
Bugs, thank you. We have a nomination and a second for Ms. Bugs. Do we have any more nominations for the office of Secretary of ANC Commission 5D? Seeing that there are no more nominations, I call to close the nomination of office of Secretary 5D, and I will ask the commission to accept these nominations in a show of hands and acclamation in favor of Ms. Bugs for Secretary. We have 5 votes in favor. Do we have any abstention? We have 1 abstention, and those against, with 1 against. And I will happily announce, Ms. Bugs, you are elected as the Secretary of ANC Commission 5D. And I believe this closes out our nominations. We have no more officers, correct?
No, and Mr. Meadows, I'd like to thank you for
Well, thank you.
your assistance.
Wasn't prepared.
But you're a pro. So I want to thank you for your assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to continuing to serve my constituents. I love my constituents, and I look forward to getting to know each and every person that continues to move in. I will be in your neighborhood getting to know each of you, and this will give me an opportunity to move forward. So I hope that we have I certainly hope that we have a better year than we had before. And with this level of turnout and scrutiny, I simply think it's wonderful. And I want to make sure that implore you to continue to come to these meetings and to continue to hold your elected representatives accountable. At this time, according to Robert's Rules of Order, the newly elected officers are immediately invested in their positions. So I'm going to be turning the meeting over to Carver Roberts. I'm sorry, Commissioner Roberts. Commissioner Roberts.
I appreciate that, Madam Chair. Actually, the bylaws state that the term may take effect at the next meeting.
Well, I guess we have a civil disagreement, and that's what Robert's Rules of Order is all about. It's about the opportunity to civilly disagree. So since the new chairperson wants to take possession of his position at the next meeting, I certainly will continue to move forward with chairing this meeting. Is that the will of the other officers as well? Yeah. Oh, thank you. So progress already, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, I would like to take this opportunity to invite the Douglas Development Team forward. Ms. Andrea Gordine and your team members, please come forward. And also let me just acknowledge Sergeant Zabrowski. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Ms. Gordine.
Good evening, everyone, fellow commissioners. My name is Andrea Gordine. I'm a project manager with Douglas Development. Tonight we are here to talk about the redevelopment of the Papa's Tomato Factory at 1401 Oakey Street Northeast. So we've come in front of the commission before to casually talk about Papa's, but now we are moving forward with a BZA case number 19200, and our hearing is March 1st. Before we start talking about Papa's, I just wanted to give a brief update on the Hex development because we have many new leases that have been signed and we are full steam ahead. So at the Heck Warehouse, the residential portion, we have 35 new leases signed. Pizzuto is managing the building and their goal is to have 25 leases signed. So we're on track. Ulta Beauty is under construction right now, and that is at And that is at Heck Avenue, which is a new road that was approved by DCRA last month. Heck Avenue and Oakey Street, they are under construction and they will be open in April. Petco is opening February 27th. For those of you pet owners, so please check them out. And then Ari Jensen, who owns several restaurants in the DC area, including Gibalina, his first project, he has 3 establishments that he's building at Hex. The first project, which will be a diner, a 24-hour diner, if I'm not mistaken. Right now, the contract is out for bid, and he's hoping to start construction this year. So anyway, that's our latest and greatest update on Hex, and I'm sure we'll have more coming, and I'll be in front to tell you more about it. So going back to the Papas, it is a redevelopment of an existing warehouse structure. And if you know Douglas Development, you know that we love the warehouse rough industrial looks, and our goal is to maintain that. We have a lease that's signed with Compass Coffee. They are taking about 20,000 square foot of the Papa's building, and that includes the coffee shop and the bakery. So I'm gonna introduce the team really quickly. Jessica Bloomfield of Holland Knight, she's our zoning counsel. Kevin Sperry and Julian Looney of Antunovich, they are the architects. And I'll let Jessica talk about our zoning case, the areas of relief that we're seeking. And then Kevin and Julian will walk through the design.
Good evening, congratulations to the newly elected commissioners. As Andrea said, I'm Jessica from Holland and Knight, and briefly, we are requesting 2 areas of relief to the BZA, which we're hoping that you will vote in support of this evening. One is for the number of parking spaces on site. Due to the very large size of this building, we're putting in a lot of new retail square footage, and we're required to provide over 300 parking spaces on the site. We are proposing to provide 0 because all of the parking will be across the street in the parking garage that's already been constructed, which is
Over 1,000.
Oh yeah, over 1,000 parking spaces already in there. So we already have the parking for this building, but because the regulations require the parking be on site, we need relief from section 2101 of the zoning regulations. The second area of relief is for 411 of the roof structure requirements. Under that section, you're only permitted to have 1 roof structure on each side of the building, and as you'll see, there's a court that separates the building, and you're allowed to have 1 roof structure on each side. We have 2 roof structures on each side, and that's due to egress requirements. We're providing access to the roof, so we need stairs and elevators, and as the guys from Antunovich will describe to you, we need all those separate roof structures, and it's such a large roof, they need to be separate. So those are the 2 technical areas of relief that we're requesting your approval of this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We need to move quickly because we have a very ambitious agenda.
So I'll keep it short and sweet.
Thank you.
I'm Julian with Antunovich Associates, we're the architects on the project. As Andrea stated, it's an existing warehouse, and Douglas expressed his excitement about keeping that look and feel along Oakey Street, the low-rise look and feel. So our mission was to try to get the retail to go down and not build up any higher. So we have a lot of retail in the cellar, and then the roof space is sort of terrace space for a retailer that might want the first level. So what we had to do was create elevators and stairs that were code compliant, obviously, to provide egress from the roof. Also, we have a very beautiful space in the rear that is going to be an environmentally friendly space. It'll have bioretention zones. So in order to get to the rear, because we're blocked one side to the east by a DC government facility, we needed to create a promenade, an open court through the middle to get us to the rear. So most of this building will remain brick inside the court. We'll change the material and have something very industrial like corrugated metal siding. That's what we're working with now to maintain that industrial feel. Well, we actually have a train that is sort of pulled in the rear. The train tracks used to sweep through the whole site and kind of come through the Heck warehouse and terminate at Papa's. So Douglas was excited about these tracks and actually brought in a train. And what we plan to do is bring pedestrians through the open court and occupy the train.
You can see that right here, and this is the rear yard of the building right here. This is the new building with the new alleyway court going through the middle. And then we have sort of a vegetated yard right behind that. And then we have literally, there is a train car that Douglas purchased, brought to the site. The whole reason that any of these buildings exist is because there is a spur track. This used to be a distribution facility for vegetables and fruit for DC. So the trains would come directly offload to this, and they would go on the trucks to the different grocery stores. So Douglas, like Julian said, wants to make sure that that history is retained in the new project. So there are literally, there's one train car right now and one bus. So Douglas is playing with different ideas on transportation, but these train cars will have a program within them. They might be a bar or a small restaurant or a diner or something, but they are there on the site today, and you can go see them.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, that concludes our presentation.
Wonderful, wonderful. First, let me, before I open it up to the commissioners and to the public for comments, let me say it has been my absolute pleasure, working with the Douglas development team to bring the type of positive development to our community that we've longed for, that we richly deserve. Tunovich and Associates, you are at the top of my A-list. I've had the pleasure of serving as a citizen member of the DC Historic Preservation Review Board, and I've had the opportunity to look at lots of development plans over the years and to really look at which developers not only have a record of really respecting the historic integrity of our buildings, but also critiquing their work, if you will. And the work that you all have submitted is consistently A-level work. Ladies and gentlemen, you should be very proud. So that development that's coming, that's already there, Mom's Organic Grocer, Big Room Yoga, Planet Fitness, all of that development, which is in walking distance to our homes, is going to push development our way. This is fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. So with that, I'm gonna open it up for any questions from my colleagues. I'm gonna quickly, yes, Commissioner Shropshire.
Did you all have an opportunity to get community input, like, at a meeting and see what they thought about the actual things that you're requesting?
Sure, so we, as I mentioned before, we've casually come in front of the 5D and talked about the Papa's warehouses, our thoughts about what we want to do as far as the redevelopment. But at that stage, it was very premature, and we were doing a lot of the pre-construction work, doing a lot of surveying and figuring out what exactly we can do with the existing building. But we have had conversations with Commissioner Lewis, she is our SMD, about our plans, and we've talked about, okay, this is what we're thinking, these are the areas of relief. And the roof structure element is something that's kind of gone back and forth and changed a little bit, but the overall idea of the adaptive reuse of Papa's is something we've talked about for at least a year.
Yes. Commissioner Lewis, would you like to speak briefly to that? Then I see your hand, Commissioner Roberts.
I think the project adds to the neighborhood, and if you think of the relief that they're asking for, it does not negatively impact the community at all. The parking garage is from their previous project, which we approved with the idea that they were building other things within the facility, and then for their roof, of course, they have to have the roof done if we want to get up there. So it's not like your typical project of, say, affordable housing or any of those things.
Ladies and Commissioner Roberts, I'm going to open it up for brief comments and questions from the audience.
Just a quick question about the parking. You said it's 1,000 spaces in the garage across the street?
Yes.
A little bit more
A
than
little bit
that.
over
It's about 11:50.
Okay, so are there any other projects coming, right? There's lots of open land in that area where you are in sort of earmarking some of those spaces for other additional spaces where you might also request similar relief for parking?
Potentially, but the way that Douglas sees it is, if the demand for parking grows and grows, we have enough capacity where we can build another parking garage on the site. I mean, the site is how many acres? It's about 3 football fields.
Yeah.
So we have the room, if we need to build another garage, we have plenty of space to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, good problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes ma'am.
Everybody's not required to come to the community to talk about these developments as they go along. I know you've probably spoken to the community a year or 2 years ago, but are we not, is it not a requirement to keep us updated and keep coming back to the community? I do live in Ivy City,
Okay,
within blocks of this entire development.
sure.
And
So,
I've not been invited to meetings. It's possible you had one and I wasn't ready.
so I would say that for projects that are matter of right, you're not required to have any community meetings, but if you look around at all of our projects all over the city, we have meetings regardless. We have meetings for projects that are matter of right, for projects that are requiring relief. So as I mentioned before, we've come in front of 5D